Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salam ala Rasulullah. We continue reading from Imam Al-Ghazali's Jawahir al-Quran, the jewels of the Quran and spares. We have commented in the last session, towards the end of the last session, we commented on verses 89 of Surah Al-Nahl, of course, a chapter named after bees, and one of the phrases in this verse addresses the nature of the book of the revelation that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because he will be, remember that we talk about the prophets becoming witnesses on the day of judgment about of course, delivering the message, whether people believed or not. But this book, تبيان لكل شيء وهدى ورحمة وبشرى للمسلمين, an explanation, a clarification of all things, a guide, a mercy, and good news for those who submit to the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to the Muslims, and also in the universal sense, meaning that you submit to the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you submit fully, you believe in the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you believe in the messengership, the prophethood of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and by definition in the prophethood of all the prophets, we have 25 names in the Qur'an, where the Qur'an mentions that there are other prophets. But the next verse, as if really, so تبيان لكل شيء, as if the next verse gives an example of this comprehensive, concise nature of the revelation, as we say in English, in a nutshell. Indeed, Allah commands justice, grace, as well as generosity to close relatives. He forbids indecency, wickedness, and aggression. He instructs you to perhaps you will be mindful. And then it demands that the believers fulfill the covenants that they have. Honor Allah's covenant when you make a pledge, and do not break your oaths after confirming them, having made Allah your grantor. Surely Allah knows all you do. Then it explains those who break the covenant, gives an example. We'll inshallah get to that. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commands al-adl, justice. We see how there is lack of justice in the world. We see how the UN as an international institution failed the weak peoples and countries around the world. We see how the UN Security Council, because of the unjust, so there's a commandment to be just. The UN Security Council, by having this so-called veto right, they prevent administering justice around the world. Palestinians are not the only people who have been subject to injustice, but colonialism, genocide, massacres, apartheid. Not the only ones. But it seems that it's one of the longest, the last direct colonialism in modern contemporary history. So we have the superpowers preventing the administration of justice within the society, adl in every respect, with your own children, with within the family at large, within the society, but also between states, because when we talk about covenants, that would definitely include also, and not exclusively, relationship between states and powers and adl. There is room for forgiveness. There's room for adl in terms of debt. You have the right to be given back the loan that you have given, no usury, no interest. You have the right to collect your loan. Ihsan is from husn, here translated as grace. The beautiful, was husn. It's about doing that which is beautiful. Grace uh, is to forgive, to wipe out the loan, the debt. You see that the person who took the loan sincerely would like to pay but cannot, and it's so the beautiful thing in this case is to forgive, to simply for the sake of God. There's a verse in the Quran. The context would be a context in which there is some conflict, something, and something happens, an accident, whatever. And here the Quran asks you to control your behavior, control your reaction, suppress your anger. Doesn't say you should not have anger. وَالْكَاظِمِينَ الْغَيْظَ. And number two, وَالْعَافِينَ عَنِ النَّاسِ, same verse. So once you, is there anything beyond suppressing your anger, your negative energy, as we call it? Yes, to forgive. وَالْعَافِينَ عَنِ النَّاسِ is to forgive. Is there anything beyond forgiveness? Oh yes. Wallahu yuhibbul muhsinin. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves those who do that which is beautiful, do grace. And if the translation could capture the notion of ihsan, excellence, but also it has some there's that which is you do excellence, you do things to a degree of beauty, and maybe a story would capture uh, the essence of these three categories. والكاظمين الغيظ والعافية عن الناس والله يحب المحسنين. An Iraqi professor of law, an elderly professor. We were colleagues at the International Islamic University in Malaysia, in Kuala Lumpur, in the old campus, if you will, in Petaling Jaya. He had an accident. He was driving. Someone on a double-stroke motorbike hit him, rear end the professor's car. And all over the world, if you are the one who hits someone, it's your responsibility to pay for the damage. You should have insurance, whatever is the case. So our professor, obviously, inshallah, he suppressed his anger, if he had any. Number two, وَالْعَافِيَ النَّاسِ, he forgave this man, and he explained why. And we know it, and everyone who knows Southeast Asia, whether Malaysia or non-Muslim countries in Southeast Asia, or it's all the same. These double-stroke motorbike, they are the mode of transportation for the poor, literally. So you'll find the whole family riding on this motorbike, It's somewhere in between bicycles and motorbikes, really, because it has pedals and you just help it and you mix the oil and gas together and smoke. A very dangerous ride, usually. Bec- But at any rate, he forgave, like he did not ask for any compensation for the damage that this man caused to the car of the professor. Number three, Wallah yuhibbu al-muhsinin. He gave this man, the motorbike driver, he gave him money to fix his bike, his motorbike. You can see that this is like a very beautiful uh, um, relationship, in the sense of you could be tested with anything, with your property, you could be tested with your job, you could be tested with whatever you have, as if life is a series of tests, of tribulations. And we do have these tribulations. No one on earth is safe from tribulations. You cannot go through life without it. You could be young and healthy. It's possible that you could become sick. You could be wealthy. You could become poor. Things could change. You'll be tested. So إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى. إيتاء ذي القربى generosity to relatives, to close relatives. Okay. It's not only an act of generosity like once in a blue moon. You are responsible. You are responsible for your siblings. You are Silatul Arham. Here, basically, in Silatul Arham, you talk about those whom you, like your siblings, for example, they are part of Ar-Rahim. Ar-Rahim is literally the womb. In English, you talk about blood relationship, and no, here in Arabic, in Islam and in Arabic culture, we talk about Ar-Rahim. And Ar-Rahim, of course, the etymology partakes in the notion of mercy. That's the Ar-Rahim, Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim. So it so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala called it Rahim, and it stems from his name, the merciful, the compassionate. There is responsibility, so it does not call for only for an act of charity. People might have the wrong idea that your responsibility towards your siblings and your maternal and paternal members of the family, of the extended family. Usually, people around Ramadan and they think that an invitation to breaking fast together is all that you need to do. No, that's not how it works. If your sister is in need, then you should basically you are responsible for her welfare. Even if she is married, and suppose that her husband is not doing well, or she becomes a widow or divorced or what have you, yes, you are responsible. وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي. He forbids indecency, wickedness, and aggression. He instructs you so perhaps you will be mindful. He forbids indecency, but also al-fahsha, vice, al-fahsha, violating the law in the area of, upholding the law uh, is. Let's give examples. Fuhsh could be in speech, so people who use obscenities, that's fuhsh. It's also munkar. Okay. Uh, it could be in acts, and even if you have, even if it's really your spouse, you don't act in public as if this is the privacy of your bedroom. That's fuhsh. And one can see it in many parts of the world that they do not restrain themselves when they are in public. So it could, it's not exclusive to sexuality, but that's fahsha. Al-munkar, that which you, anything that the law prohibits is munkar. It is translated here in this particular translation as wickedness, but it's literally anything that the law prohibits. Is drinking alcohol munkar? Yes. Is killing the innocent munkar? Yes. Is gambling munkar? Yes. Is euthanasia munkar? Yes. Is permitting drugs? Yes. Munkar. Yes. Is usury munkar? Yes. Is not taking care of the meek and weak and poor in the society while you are capable and you are knowledgeable about them. Is it munkar? Yes. So if you have noticed, we have 3 positive things to do and 3 negative things to avoid. Al-adl, al-ihsan, ita' al-qurba, these are positive things to do. Justice, excellence, grace, and generosity. And that which is prohibited, we talk about indecency, wickedness. And number 3 is al-baghi, aggression. It could be a group of Muslims against Muslims. It could be also Muslims against non-Muslims. Not all instances of the use of force are legitimate, but it's baghi is prohibited. If a group of Muslims initiate aggression against another group, one might interfere first by trying to bring that group to stop the aggression. But if they insist, the rest of society is in a position to prevent and to stop and even fight the aggressors. And if this is true within the Muslim society, this is also true with others amongst Muslims. If this is valid amongst Muslims, then this is valid also amongst or with non-Muslims as well. So 3 things to do, 3 things to avoid. And if we do have that, then we talk about a different social fabric, a good one. Because here, the end of the verse, يَعِظُكُمْ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَذَكَّرُونَ, he instructs you so you perhaps you'll be mindful about society cannot be built on freedom in the absolute sense. It's a free. You say it's a free society, then you just do whatever you want to do, with total disregard to the rest of the society. وأوفوا بعهد الله إذا عاهدتم ولا تنقضوا الأيمان بعد توكيدها وقد جعلتم الله عليكم كفيلا إن الله يعلم ما تفعلون. Honor Allah's covenant when you make pledge, and do not break your oaths after confirming them, having made Allah your grantor. Surely Allah knows all you do. First of all, do not mention the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in vain. That's the first one. Number two, do not hasten to take oath. Some people do that. I don't know about other cultures, but in our culture, people will take an oath almost unnecessarily. People don't ask them to take an oath, but they do when they would like to sell something, and this could undermine the blessings of the trade if the taking oath is not true. But again, you don't have to. It's not worth it, and it does not make you taking an oath does not make you trustworthy. Usually, this is the now. Imam Shafi'i said, it is written that Imam Shafi'i rahimahullah said, I have never taken oath, neither true nor false. So here we have Imam Shafi'i. Why he wouldn't take an oath? Because he respects, he honors, because of the you worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you mention the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you glorify Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You don't make the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala subject to daily conversations, like take an oath simply to a casual, as they say. Yes, in the Qur'an, لا يؤاخذكم الله باللغو في أيمانكم. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if it's really incidental, casual, simply it's part of your speech, you don't intend it. Of course, it's the intention. You don't intend to cover the truth, if you will. But for Muslims to uphold the covenant with non-Muslims, أوفوا بعهد الله إذا عاهدتم, it means that you talk about peace. If you have a truce, you need to fulfill that. If you have a peace treaty, you need to fulfill that. You fulfill all the conditions. You should not nullify the covenant. In the case of Sulh al-Hudaybiyah, for example, it was the allies of the pagan Meccans, the idol worshippers, who violated the terms of the truce. The Prophet ﷺ wanted to avoid shedding blood, and in fact, ultimately, a couple of years later, he entered Mecca. There was no bloodshed, and there was practically general amnesty. Ahd is not. You need to fulfill your promises. You need to fulfill if you take an oath, unless there is something. You take an oath. You pledge something. You need to fulfill it, unless you find something better. Not. You take an oath to do something. You pledge something to do something, and you find that you could do better for the community, better for everyone involved. Then yes, you can do that which is better, and you have penance. You just simply for taking that, for nullifying that oath, if you will. But a covenant, ahd, is something when we spoke about the changing, you're not changing. The intention is to do that which is good. The Prophet ﷺ did say in a hadith narrated by Al-Bukhari and Muslim, إني والله إن شاء الله لا أحلف على يمين فأرى غيرها خيرا منها إلا أتيت الذي هو خير وتحللت وفي رواية وكفرت عن يميني. So verily, verily by God, God willing, that I do not take an oath, that then I see that there is a better alternative except that I do that which is better, and then I تحللت هذا. I will when we talk about كفارة اليتيم, اليمين, really feeding 10 poor people, and feeding 10 poor people, it doesn't mean feeding them at 5-star restaurants. من أوسط ما تطعمون أهليكم. You see, like your average lunch, let's say, average dinner, to 10 poor people, or clothing, just giving clothing. If it's winter, then it is something that will protect them against cold, for example, or really setting one slave free, which would the very last one, the very last part, it's confirming that which we have said time and again, that Islam intended to set all slaves free. It was something that existed before Islam, and we can see this is one way. And we know that people will usually they continue to take oaths, which means setting slaves free. ولا تنقضوا الأيمان بعد توكيدها وقد جعلتم الله عليكم كفيلا إن الله يعلم ما تفعلون. So honor His covenant when you make a pledge, and do not break your oaths after confirming them, having made Allah your grantor. Surely Allah knows all you do. We can say that, for example, المسلمون عند شروطهم, Muslims should fulfill the conditions, the articles of any covenant. They should fulfill the conditions even with non-Muslims. You should never be the first to break the covenant. And we do have a story about Muawiyah ibn Abi Sufyan radiallahu anhu. And we conclude this session with this story. He had a covenant with a Roman king, and when it was about towards the end of the term, so obviously Muawiyah ibn Abi Sufyan and even the Roman king, they both fulfilled the covenant, the treaty, if you will, the agreement. They both fulfilled, but towards the end of the term, Muawiyah ibn Abi Sufyan mobilized the army, and he moved in the direction of the Roman territory. The text itself says فصار معاوية إليهم في آخر الأجل حتى إذا انقضى وقريب من بلادهم أغار عليهم وهم غارون لا يشعرون. So when he was close to their land, their territory, he invaded them, and they did not know about his invasion, like it was a surprise. حتى إذا انقضى الأجل. So the term ended, but he did not inform them that he will not renew the term. With him, Umar bin Utbah told him, Allahu Akbar ya Muawiyah. He reminded him that he should not, because he reminded him that the Prophet ﷺ said, من كان بينه وبين قوم أجل فلا يحل عقده حتى ينقضي أمدها. The idea was he should also inform them to be on equal footing. You don't wait until the last minute and just simply you have such a, and this is, you talk about the Muslims, preventing Muslims from violating. Again, the text says, it does not say that he violated the conditions or violated the or nullified the covenant. It does say inqadal ajal, but he surprised them. He wanted to surprise them. And what did Muawiyah do? He returned with the army, so he did not really invade them. He just simply stopped and returned. He was reminded of the of this hadith, and this is really, we talk about al-wafa bil-ahd is very, very important. It's very important, and we should really highlight these things, for ultimately it's conflicts or wars, they are not intended for themselves. Primarily you talk about protection, preservation, protection of religion, protection of life, protection of property, territory. Inshallah, we'll continue in the next session. Until then, سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.